Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Vanessa, the People's Nephrologist. I am back again, this time to answer a very frequently asked question, and that is, what do I need to eat to protect my kidneys? So the answer to that varies depending on where an individual person is with their kidney health. For folks who are just getting diagnosed with chronic kidney disease and it's not really that far gone, like moderate chronic kidney disease or fairly early, then the answer is whatever diet is healthy for what you have. If you have high blood pressure, follow a low salt diet because controlling the blood pressure will help the kidneys, right? Maybe they won't return to normal, but at least it'll slow down the progression, how quickly they get worse. If you have diabetes, follow a low carbohydrate diet. So it's the same difference. Nothing really specific that's going to target the kidney in and of itself. Usually, though, what I've told people is that when your nephrologist starts telling you that you can only eat and drink certain things, that's not a good thing. That's not the kind of advice that you want to hear, because what that means is that your kidneys are so far gone that they are unable to take care of all of the functions that they're supposed to do, like make sure there's not too much, not too little potassium or salt or calcium or phosphorus, water, all these various things that the kidneys help regulate. What I'm referring to is a renal diet. So just because you have a kidney problem doesn't necessarily mean you need to follow a renal diet. This is for people whose kidneys cannot handle the load of potassium or phosphorus or whatever it is that we're eating without some help. And that help comes in the form of not eating a lot of things that have high potassium or high phosphorus, etc. It's a lot of stuff, and that's why I say it's not something that you don't want to know about the renal diet, because most people find it really hard because there's so much good stuff that's on it. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it because there's a lot of good information out there. The National Kidney Foundation website, nkf.org, has a lot of really wonderful information about foods that have a lot of potassium, a lot of phosphorus, what you like alternatives, like things that have low potassium and low phosphorus. So I would just encourage you to go to that website and have a look at those things. But it's not something that you have to worry about until your labs say so. Does that make sense? So your labs are something that we're going to check on a regular basis, and that will tell us if your potassium is too high or if your phosphorus is too high. Those are the major ones. And we do have medications that can help control things, but of course, the first response is to adjust our diets a bit. And you know, we're funny. People are funny. We don't really want to take pills, but we want to eat what we want to. So it's tough, but that is what it is. So a second area, I guess that would be third, because first is eating to prevent progression. The second is a renal diet if you have advanced disease. And I guess along with preventing disease too, or preventing disease progression, would be around protein. Now, back in my day, we used to tell people who had a lot of protein in their urine that it really wasn't advisable to eat a very low protein diet. And I know it seems counterintuitive, because if you have a lot of protein in your urine, then it makes sense that you shouldn't eat a lot of protein. But what we knew back then was that it was really hard. A very low protein diet was just so nasty that most people couldn't do it. And even if they could do it, it would really harm their overall body nutrition. Like we need a certain amount of protein to maintain our body weight, our muscle mass. And so we didn't advise that. But what we've since learned, and what I definitely would suggest to people, particularly those who have more than 300 milligrams of albumin in their urine. That's a type of protein, and definitely more than 1,000 milligrams. And I just want to, say if you're looking at your own labs, that's milligrams of albumin per gram of creatinine. So don't just look at the albumin number. You have to look at the albumin and divide it by the creatinine number. And most labs will give that number to you. So if your number is higher than 300 and definitely higher than 1,000, you might want to think about a plant-based diet, right? So the problem is the animal protein. The plant-based diet, or as close to vegan as you can get, there's some studies out there that show that it really does sometimes reduce the protein by as much as 50%. So that's pretty good. And I've heard others talk about how the creatinine improves as well. I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's something to think about. And there's lots of resources out there about vegetarian/vegan diet. Another thing that people often ask about is, for example, how much water should I drink, or should I do a cleanse? Now, there's lots of these cleanse, detox things out there. And in general, my opinion is that they're a waste of money. And at best, the cleanses for kidney health have a mild diuretic in them, and that's something that's going to make you pee a little bit more. But those cleanses is just they're not doing anything, because that's what the kidneys do. The kidneys are full of a bunch of filters. They're cleaning the blood, and there's something else passing through the blood is going to do for the kidneys. It's not Drano, right? It's save your money. I know a lot of people believe in these things because you see organic, you see natural, and you think no harm can come out of it. But I just encourage you, if you really want to give things a try, at least run it by your doctor to make sure that there's nothing in it that's harmful for you. Because in truth, those supplements and herbal things, they're not regulated by the FDA like regular medications are. So they don't have to prove that they're safe for people with different conditions. And then finally, about the water. There's a thing out there about 8 glasses of water a day. I saw a recent little TED video that said that's completely bogus, and you should just drink when you're thirsty. I don't completely agree or disagree with that. I agree there's no set amount of water that you have to drink every day. In fact, some people, say somebody with heart failure, they're probably on a fluid restriction, like they shouldn't drink more than a certain amount every day. Same thing with people on dialysis, or at least the hemodialysis, the in-center hemodialysis. They are on a fluid restriction. But for most people, if you wait until you're thirsty, I think you're kind of behind the game. Like your body is already a bit dehydrated, and dehydration, the kidneys don't really like that. That's what they work with. They're conserving any water that you take in, and that's why to hold on any water, and that's why your pee would be very, very dark yellow. So instead of, going by a set amount of how many glasses or whatever, I think it's important to drink enough so that your pee is a nice pale yellow. That's what I think, a pale yellow, because that means that there is, some extra water that your kidneys are wisely getting rid of, and you're not at risk of being too dehydrated. So for some people, maybe that will be 8 glasses of water a day. If on these super, super hot days and you're sweating a lot, you might need more than that. And definitely people who are prone to form kidney stones, the very first advice that's given to help prevent more kidney stones is drink enough fluid. Alcohol and sodas don't count, okay? But drink enough fluid to make at least 2 liters of pee every day. All right. So you have to consider your particular situation. Those are my thoughts. So I hope that's helpful. Please like, subscribe, share, and let me know if you have any specific questions, something you'd like to hear about. All right. Until then, y'all take care.